There's a new trend lately in the narrative and the argument of speech opponents or censorship fans, or whatever you want to call them. I need a catchier term. But for years now, we've heard the case that we ought to control so-called hate speech. You shouldn't be able to say mean things about people. Lately, the focus is shifting to supposedly false speech. And we're hearing a case that we ought to control incorrect information as well. So we gotta ban political ads on Twitter so none of this misinformation gets out there. Until, whoops, now I'm angry because this is affecting information I like. Who could have foreseen this outcome? We gotta grill Mark Zuckerberg to make sure that he chooses the correct fact checkers to be the trusty arbiters between good information and bad.
So you would say that white supremacist tied publications meet a rigorous standard for fact-checking?
And all of this, the argument goes, is because gatekeeping is actually good. It ensures that only stories that have been extensively researched with solid evidence are published. Yeah, pour a fake Jussie Smollett tear out for how obviously true that statement is.
So I'm just gonna be left here with this? That's not cool to me.
Gatekeeping ensures that only those with deep experience and expertise in a given topic are afforded the right to comment authoritatively on the events of the moment. Yeah, that's the problem, not the benefit. The more you push for only the authority having the right to comment, or at least only the authority having credibility in its commentary, the more the truth becomes merely what the authority says it is. At that point, we're not beholden to the truth or the evidence behind it. We're just beholden to the authority's presentation and interpretation of it. And forgive me if I have my questions about our supposedly credible fact-checking authorities. These are the same people who labeled the president's dog meme fake. These are the same people who say the claim that Democrats have tried to impeach every Republican president since Ike is mostly false, because it's actually only 5 out of 6 of those presidents. These are the same people labeling satire as false. No, CNN doesn't have an actual spin machine. No, Bernie isn't trying to let ISIS members vote. No, AOC didn't repeatedly guess free on The Price is Right. The mark of great satire is near believability, but according to these people, that's why it should be punished. It's not because Snopes is too dumb to separate serious claims from humor. It's because you buffoons are, and you need them to look out for you. And just to show their goodwill, they're now labeling satire pieces as satire, instead of nonsensically labeling them as false, as though anyone actually needs this service. Trust the authority. Don't think for yourself. It's difficult, it's messy, and let's be honest, you're probably not qualified anyway. That is the common theme across all of these contexts, and in a particularly egregious example, PolitiFact published a fact check on Sunday that says you shouldn't even trust your own eyes and ears. They aren't sophisticated enough to pick up on the nuance. Headline, Florida GOP chair twists response by Democrats at debate on healthcare for undocumented immigrants. I'm gonna rate the weird use of an apostrophe after a verb as mostly wrong, especially for a gatekeeper we can always trust to publish correct and heavily vetted material, but that's not why we're here. We're here because Joe Gruters, state senator and chair of the Florida Republican Party, said this at a recent debate with the Florida Democratic Party chair.
If you would stop wanting to give free health care to illegals, maybe we can provide better health care to everybody.
That is a myth. Check it out.
Fact check. Yeah, all the Democrats on the entire stage, every Democrat candidate said they want to give free health care to illegals. That's them saying. That's what they said in the debate. It wasn't me saying it. They raised their hands, every single one of them, free health care for illegals.
Oh yeah, I remember that clearly, you may be thinking. No, you don't. That's your foolish, untrustworthy, unqualified, rube brain tricking you again. That claim is mostly false, says PolitiFact, but it's on video. We all saw the debate.
Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
But your unsophisticated eyes and ears betray you again. You gotta refine your perception for the specifics. The claim is mostly false, first because remember, this was only half the field of Democratic candidates. Not everyone was there. Right, only 4 of the 5 front-running and viable candidates were there. And the other one has since said very clearly, hey guys, don't forget about me. I support free healthcare for illegals too.
Medicare for all, as I put this together, covers everyone, regardless of immigration status.
It is true there are some lower tier no chance candidates you've never heard of who have made statements against this proposal, but it's also true that a major reason these guys have no chance is because they're insufficiently radical for today's Democratic base, to the original claim's point. It's also true that the guy said all of the candidates on the stage.
All the Democrats on the entire stage.
And these guys weren't on the stage. But that's not all. It's not just about who was there and who wasn't, says PolitiFact. Because the other key detail is the moderator never used the word free, and only 2 candidates got to offer commentary, Biden and Buttigieg, and neither described a plan for free healthcare for illegals, just coverage availability generally. First of all, even in the case of Biden, who doesn't support a Medicare for all plan, he's still in support of the coverage availability, public coverage availability. And what makes that coverage available? Significant public subsidy, as explained on his website. He didn't raise his hand for free healthcare for illegals, only publicly subsidized healthcare for illegals. Isn't the point that their healthcare is on the taxpayer dime? PolitiFact adds that Buttigieg didn't speak in support of free healthcare for illegals either, that he said that illegals pay taxes and therefore it doesn't count as a handout. But it does count as free, or at least taxpayer funded. His whole bit is Medicare for all who want it.
Medicare for all who want it means we take a version of Medicare and we make it available for every American.
So if an illegal wants it, then have at it. That's what he raised his hand to indicate. And check out how PolitiFact twists Bernie's stance. Yes, Bernie says that Medicare for all will cover everyone in America regardless of immigration status, but that doesn't count as free healthcare for illegals because his immigration plan allows employers to hire illegals and thus they'll pay taxes. So in that sense, the care isn't really free. See, it's not free healthcare for illegals, it's giving illegals a pathway to legal status and then giving them stuff. It's way different because reasons. And besides, we all know that none of this is actually free. It's just a question of who pays for it, the individual consumer or the taxpayer. In the context of the original claim, free doesn't mean no cost. Free means illegals get healthcare services from your wallet at gunpoint. And for every single candidate on that stage, that is the case. I understand there is some variation here. I understand that each Democratic candidate has his or her own special way in which they'd like to take from you to provide for illegals. I'll grant you that nuance. But even with that nuance, how is the claim mostly false? How the hell is the claim not mostly true? In general terms, what this guy said is absolutely correct. Sure, we can chip away at a few details around the edges, but he's speaking extemporaneously, making a quick point as part of a broader argument. This isn't a doctoral thesis. Why are we scrutinizing it like it is? Because it's not about that context or objectivity or the truth at all. It's about a preferred political outcome. And to be fair to PolitiFact, they aren't alone in that bias. There are many like them of varying perspective. Today is just their day in the scrutiny spotlight. That is why it is so crucial to resist these calls to have some truth authority relieve us of this brain-busting thought work. There isn't anybody we can trust to get everything right all of the time. There isn't even anybody we can trust to acknowledge video evidence right before their very eyes if the evidence challenges preconceptions or preferred political outcomes entrenched deeply enough in their minds. I'll take AOC's point about these scary white supremacists we can't have controlling information when she takes the same point about PolitiFact and Snopes and all the rest of them. The only way we get to the truth is when everyone is free to pursue it. Anything else is just a rigged game to decide whose lies win today. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel always. Appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below and especially over on Twitter. That is at ML Christiansen. You're always welcome to coming out and chat in my live streams. Those are linked down in the description. Looking forward to it. Goodbye.